It seems to me
Donnie,
like this isn't meant to be right now.
this talk.
Yeah,
Yeah, why? Is your Wi-Fi killing? Is it dropping out?
yeah, it is, but it should be
Uh,
fine.
all right, it's quieted down in here now. Sorry we're late, everybody. If anybody is even going to tune into this,
They're not.
living, living with army folk can be a challenge sometimes.
Are they
Anywho,
still in your room?
yeah, I won't even get into it. Anywho,
Yeet.
let's all let's get into this instead. Let's get into Prom Night Part 2.
Woo woo.
All right. How did you enjoy this film? First off, before we even get into the plot.
It was. I will rank this a 7 out of 10.
Really?
Yeah.
Very nice. Yeah, I'm with you there. I'd say like 7 out of 10. I had a lot of fun with this one. Um, okay, cool. All right, well let me dive into the plot here. I asked Donnie if I could do the plot of this one tonight because I got overexcited and I fucking love this movie. Um, so it starts out in the year 1957, and there's a high school prom going on, and there is a girl named Mary Lou, and she has just come from a confessional booth with a the local priest. And she says something along the lines of like, "I've had sinful thoughts with boys. I've used foul language, and I loved every minute of it," or something like that. She's right. I
Yeah.
loved it, man. That was a cool line. And then she like lights up her cigarette in the confessional booth, and walks out and goes to prom. So she's at prom with this guy that she's been going steady with for a little bit. This guy named Bill, and everything seems normal. And he's like, "Hey, can I get you some punch?" And she's like, "Sure." And as soon as he walks away to go get punched, she goes off and sneaks off with another guy named Bud. And he goes in, and they're getting to it, making out, and she starts grabbing at him, and he goes, "Why are you with that guy Bill anyway?" And she's like, "Oh, he's got a rich dad, and all the basic shit like a mean girl would say."
You got that
And
money.
yeah, and so Bill goes to find her, and he spots her with making out with Bud, and him and Bud get into a little bit of a fight, but it's no big deal. She pulls Bud away from the fight, and her name gets announced, and she wins prom queen. Well, Bud gets really upset, and he goes into the bathroom, and he sees these guys plotting to light a stink bomb on fire. This is back when before like you had the small stink bombs. Like they were more like cherry bombs. You'd light a fuse, and then they'd explode and smell. Well, they think they're going to get caught, so they throw it in the trash. Well, Bill goes and grabs it, and he sneaks up to the like kind of like the what do they call that on top of the stage, like
Like
backstage,
a like a
the
runway thing.
rafter. Yeah, like a yeah. It almost looks like a it's almost like a little bridge behind the stage. Oh, excuse me. I just can't remember what those are called at the moment. It's like a rafter or something. While she's up on the runway or the catwalk. That's right. Because I remember you called it the catwalk the other night. I was like, oh, that's a perfect name for it. So she's accepting her gift, and he's like, all right, I'm gonna light this stink bomb on fire, and I'm gonna throw it down, and whatever, play a prank on her because he was all mad. Well, he lights it on fire and he drops it, and it ends up just burning, and it lights her dress on fire, and she burns alive in front of all these people, and nobody ran up and helped her. So it cuts to 30 years later, now 1987, and you see this group of kids, and they're all friends. They're all kind of different. One's kind of a popular girl, one's a quiet girl, one's kind of like the artsy goth chick, and um, the artsy goth girl wants to make her own prom dress. So she she asks her friend, the quiet one, who's like the main girl. What was her name? Because we watched this a couple nights ago now.
Wait a
Um,
minute. Wait, I will tell you.
okay.
I got you. Hold up.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I don't know why I can't remember her name at the moment. Something like Judy or
Jess.
Kelly. Jess. Okay, gotcha. So, so Jess goes and looks backstage at all, kind of like in the prop and costume area. She's like, "Oh, I'm gonna make my friend I'm gonna help my friend make a dress," and she opens up this old chest, and you kind of see like some paranormal stuff start happening, and it turns out that I guess like inside of the chest was Mary Lou, the girl that burned alive. It was her. It was her sash and her like crown and
It's
all
like
the
a
stuff she.
keepsake.
Yeah, exactly. Like all the stuff she had from winning prom queen. It was kind of something like the school never really talked about anymore. So, um, so like there's a lot of Evil Dead references in here too. Like you could tell the director was a fan of Evil Dead because they used a lot of the same camera shots. Like, have you seen any of the Evil Dead movies?
No.
All right, well, we should watch those together. Basically, a lot of like first person view, fast moving camera shots, kind of like when the it was almost like I don't know how to explain it, but we'll watch it. So um, so there's something paranormal going on, and Jess ends up leaving for the night. Well, her friend, who's the goth chick, she likes to stay late at school and sculpt and work on her art. So she's there late one night, and this thing that comes out of the chest sort of starts possessing her. Once, oh, that's right. Jess handed her the sash and the dress that she had found, and her artsy friend was gonna like start cutting it up, making a dress out of it. That's why she stayed after. And she took the crown from in there and she popped off one of the jewels on the crown. And I guess the ghost of Mary Lou didn't like that very much, so she hung her with the sash and
Mm-hmm.
made it look like a suicide. First, you thought she was going to get her head chopped off by the paper cutter, and that was pretty creepy. And then you saw the thing tighten around her neck. It hung her from the ceiling and then threw her out the window.
And
Um,
she was pregnant.
oh, that's right. Yeah, she was crying earlier on that day to her friend because she had just found out she was pregnant and she couldn't get a hold of the guy that got her pregnant. He was avoiding her. So it was a bad day for her, to say the least. Um, so then so like the next day things really start to fly off the handle. Jess starts showing signs of being possessed now. It's like the ghost of Mary Lou kind of is taking over her, and she's starting to change. She's starting to be less of a quiet girl, more of a very like overly confident, wearing extra makeup. She starts flirting with one of her girlfriends, and she corners her in the shower. Remember that? That was the second kill.
That was gonna be
So
a sexy scene right there, and they did
it
not let it
was.
happen.
No, they almost did. Well, so she was acting really strange, and her friend went to go check on her, and they're both in the locker room after gym class, and she corners her, and she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I was acting strange," and her friend's like, "That's okay," and then the Jess gives her a kiss, and she's like, "What are you doing, Jess?" And then she corners her and starts really forcing herself on her, and the girl runs away and she hides in a locker, and then Jess, with the now supernatural powers of Mary Lou, she squishes her in the lockers. And
Yeah, dude,
that was pretty
that
wild. All the
that was crazy.
That was a really cool scene, like however they did the practical effects to make the lockers squish together like that. I thought that was really well done.
I didn't even see that coming, to be honest. I didn't
No,
see
me
that
neither.
coming. I thought she was
No,
just
me
gonna
neither.
like leave her be, kinda, or
Me
like
too.
just wait for her to come out eventually, but she squished the fuck out of her.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I thought like the girl was just gonna get away, and she was just kind of gonna complain to her friends, and they kind of like like typical movies. They always have that sort of like up and down period, and then like everybody's like, oh, something's wrong with so and so, and this one was very
Yeah.
like it kind of it didn't follow that typical format, which I liked about it, because all of her friends sort of didn't really notice until like quite a while into it,
Well,
and
her
then
the one guy did. He noticed. He was like,
oh, her
something's wrong with
boyfriend.
her. Yeah, he was like, what's wrong with you? And she's like, nothing's wrong with me. he's like, no, like
Yeah.
something really is wrong with her. Like I think, and like this one random kid kept saying like, she's possessed. Like I'm
Oh
telling you,
yeah,
she's
the
possessed.
kind of like the he was like kind of like a hippie kid. He was the computer guy. He was the AV
Yeah,
nerd. Yeah. Yeah, he kept saying like, "Oh, she's I think she's possessed." And he kept saying it over and over again and nobody was listening to him. And then she really so you actually said you were like, "Oh, this gives me Nightmare on Elm Street vibes because a lot of times like she'd be going through something in her room or like the possession is taking over her and she'd have all these like delusions and like she had a rocking horse in her room and the rocking horse came to life. That was really creepy. The
that was
eyes would
weird as
move.
fuck. Ew, and the
Yeah, and
tongue.
the tongue, dude. Remember when she was sticking her finger in its
Ugh,
mouth?
yeah, she was sticking her finger in its mouth. I was like, what the
Yeah.
fuck is going on here?
No, there were a lot of cool like almost like dream-esque sequences in this film. Like in her room, she got sucked into the mirror, and then when she was in detention in the classroom, she got grabbed. These hands came out of a chalkboard and grabbed her, and then the chalkboard turned into like tar or water, and she was like trying to get out of it. That was pretty cool.
So basically,
Um,
when she had got grabbed into the chalkboard, that was basically Mary Lou switching with her.
oh
Mary Lou came
yeah,
out instead. So Mary Lou took over her body and now she was trapped.
definitely. Yeah,
That was a good
that
way
that
to do it.
that's a really good point, dude. Because I guess I never thought about it that way, but you're right. Like, it's that was kind of the turning point of like, oh, her body's actually being taken over now by this other
Yeah.
character, and I really dug that. There was a lot of like social commentary in this film as well, sort of about what's okay and what's not okay to do to each other. Like, at least that's how I felt. Like a lot of like hidden life and like hiding secrets away type of social commentary, like people hiding behind their old lives. So to get to the point, I guess I'm trying to make is so eventually you find out that the principal of their school is the guy Bill who was responsible for killing Mary Lou 30 years ago, and his son is the boyfriend of the girl that's being possessed. So there's a interesting dynamic there where he starts noticing things going on and he starts seeing like, oh shit, Mary Lou's back somehow. I thought, kind of lock this away from my life, which is kind of the theme of the movie. It's like you can't really run from the bad things you've done in the past. So
Yeah. The
um
um you
and then
forgot the preacher.
well, that's what I was about to say. So then he goes to go tell the priest, who is now 30 years later is Bud, the guy that Mary Lou was cheating on Bill with. He became a priest after that traumatic experience, and he decides to not go tell him. But the priest starts noticing that things are there's evil in the air also, and he holds seances by himself, and he tries he tries then warning Bill, and he hands him a cross, and Bill denies the cross, and he uh, denies that anything is going on. He just keeps saying no. That was a 30 years ago. That was a different life. We're different people now. He keeps saying things like that, and they get into an argument. Well, you think that the priest is good, right? Because he's going not good like good guy. I mean, like you think he's going to be okay because he kind of says like, no, this is the only thing that can protect you, all this shit. And then shit, he's the next to go
Yep.
because Mary Lou comes to the church and she's fully taken possession of Jess's body. So Jess goes into the confessional booth, says the same shit that Mary Lou had said 30 years prior, and she stabs the shit out of the priest with the cross. Remember, she took it and stabbed him in the
It wasn't Jess, it was Vicky.
oh, Vicky's the name of the main character.
Vicky
That's
is the main character. Jess is the first one that died.
oh, my bad, my bad. I like boy, I cannot remember the characters' names, and I took notes too, but I like because of everything that was going on in here tonight, I like didn't I didn't open my notes up. I was just
It
like
was
not thinking.
Vicky.
Yes, Vicky, thank you. She
So
took over Vicky's body.
she took over Vicky. She goes see the priest and she says the same thing that Mary Lou said in the beginning to the preacher, the priest about how